Hey, Thrive Tribe. Welcome back to Survive to Thrive Warrior Voices. Today, I'm super excited. I have Kelly with me today, and Kelly has gone on the breast cancer journey, and just seeing where she's at today, following her on TikTok. That's actually where we found Kelly, is on TikTok. Has been as soon as I saw her, I'm like, I gotta get this girl on here. She's so raw, she's so real, but she's very deep, and she is brave enough to say everything that people want to say, but either don't know how to say it or they're too afraid to say it. And so, welcome, Kelly, to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully getting some messages out there that people are just like, yes, someone finally said it, or answering some questions that they may have, but they're too afraid to ask.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. It's so fun to be here. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, like I was saying, one of my best friends um, has been on a cancer journey for the last 18 months. That's been my experience. I had a sister that passed from cancer. She unfortunately was not diagnosed and was misdiagnosed, I guess I should say, for years. And then when she was diagnosed, it was too late. It was after your diagnosis, 10 days later, she had passed. So it was just a bombshell. She had lung cancer, and just because of all the misdiagnoses, it was too late for treatment, which seemed so unfair and so brutal for her family, her husband, her children. So I think one thing I would love to talk about is the importance of getting checked, right? Doing self exams, making sure you're doing your physicals once a year, and and advocating for yourself. Do medical. Like they just kept telling my sister that she was depressed. That's why she was having pains in her neck, in her back, is because she was depressed. So how important it is to advocate, especially when you're going through something like that. But I'm just gonna hand the mic over to you, and I want you to share with us a little bit about your journey, where you're at in life before your diagnosis, what your diagnosis, what that was like, and then kind of take us through that whole journey, and then to where you're at today.
Okay. Oh,
I know,
so
such a loaded question.
I know, very parallel because I have a very similar story, although, um, obviously different ending, or path. Um, I was living in Hawaii. I had my first biopsy in 2020. Came back benign. Was told you have dense tissue, fatty tissue, basically. And okay, great. Went on, but I did continue my mammograms every 6 months. And then it was March, February, March of 2024. I had, oh, it was a horrible time in my life, but I wound up leaving the island of Hawaii, and I was on my, at the airport, glass of wine in hand. You know how you do when we were still drinking. And I got a phone call that's from my doctor that said your mammogram results came back. I had just gotten my mammogram the day before, and you need to get an ultrasound. I was en route to live my 22-year-old dream of living abroad. I was going down to Central America, no car keys, no house key. It was just like this new reinvention for me. And I was on the phone at the airport with my doctor, and I said, Cal, can I push this off a little bit? Like how quickly do I actually need to get more tests? And the radiologist wound up calling me back, just like pretty immediate, and said, you should not wait. Like you need to go now. I mean, I wasn't gonna miss going to Belize. So I spent a few months in Belize and then wound up getting an ultrasound in May. So I went a few months, and they wound up telling the radiologist there wound up telling me that it was probably benign, but he had to stop taking photos because I had so many cysts or nodules or whatever he wanted to call it. And I don't do probably, especially probably benign when it comes to cancer. So I wound up coming back to the States in June, late May of 2024 and had an MRI and ultrasound on the same day, and then had, or I'm sorry, a mammogram and an ultrasound on the same day, and then I had a mammogram the following week, and then July 3rd I was diagnosed. So it was very quickly, but also I tell you what, this misdiagnosis, well, I'm just going to stay on that path for a minute because I didn't have any breast cancer symptoms, signs or symptoms, right? I couldn't feel a lump until I knew it was there and they like actually made me feel it. Um,
Okay.
and by the way, it feels exactly like they tell you in school with the pencil eraser. It's exactly what it feels like. It was
Really?
crazy. But
God.
I I was getting sick, like nauseous, vomiting. And I couldn't chalk it up to stress. I thought I was having a heart attack one night, but our bodies tell us like it starts to whisper at first and then it gets louder and louder and louder. And we can, you know, chalk it up to probably benign or depression or whatever they want to call it. But if we do not advocate for ourselves, especially in the healthcare system right now, no one else is going to. No one.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Like, it's nobody should go without a diagnosis.
Right.
It should not happen in the United States of America right now, but it does.
Hmm.
So, um, unfortunately, we have to be very mouthy. I guess is the right
Right. I
word.
have no problem being mouthy, but it is hard when, you're talking to a doctor and, you want to be able to trust in them and believe that they know what they're talking about and even partially like be hopeful that it's just benign. Okay. That's what the doctor says. Who am I, to know any different?
Yeah,
But you got to push. If that little small piece of your gut is saying, no, something doesn't feel right, then you got to keep pushing. And if that doctor doesn't listen, then it's time to start knocking on someone else's door.
you go knock them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I didn't have any of the typical breast cancer signs or symptoms, but I mean, my body was telling me something. I mean, it it was screaming at me to get some help, and luckily I found a healthcare system here in Virginia that was has been fantastic with me from the start. So I was fortunate. But I tell you, they wound up. I was actually going through my Instagram last night and kind of going through my journey that of some of the posts and stuff that I've shared. I I had 6 tumors, and they only knew about three. They found three more in my surgery.
Wow.
It didn't even
So
show
what
up
does
on
that tell
my
you?
MRI.
Really?
Hmm.
That's so scary.
Hmm.
That's scary. It's like, how
So
do
I
you
sit
trust
back and
the
I think,
MRIs?
what if I hadn't advocated for myself? And here's the scary part. They tell you that cancer usually sits in your system or is in your body for 10 years before people are usually diagnosed. That's what my doctor said. I
That's
probably had it for 10 years, which makes me go
that's
back to 2020
fascinating.
and wonder, was that a bad biopsy? Did
Mm,
I have it back in
yeah.
2020 and they just misdiagnosed me then? I don't know. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got your diagnosis. Talk to us about that. What was that like when you heard the word cancer?
I already knew, honestly. So in the biopsy, I'm a science geek, so of course I'm looking at like I'm googling what do cancerous tumors look like, right? I'm looking at my ultrasound and I'm like googling all the different, there's shapes and they say if it looks like an animal, it's probably cancer. And so I'm sitting
Mm,
there and I'm watching them do the biopsy because they have an ultrasound machine, hooked up. And so the doctor can see where he's getting his samples from. And I just knew then I was like, that looks like a whatever animal. And I probably have it. I had the meltdown then. Um, and just something in my gut told me. And then they take you into a room that has a box of Kleenex on it. And there's like nothing on the walls or anything like that. So of course, like you already know when
yeah,
they're not gonna take you into a room that and tell you you don't have it. Um,
right.
I think I was pretty much in my head kind of prepared for those words, but I think the most concerning to me at that time was how bad is it? That's what I really wanted to know. Like, what stage, like, am I gonna die? Like, I hate even saying those words, but um,
Mm.
that was my main uh, concern was like, how bad is this? And the
Oh,
doctor
yeah.
that told me was, very kind and good bedside manner, and I'm really very fortunate for that. And he did bring in a cancer care advocate. Um, Her name was Elizabeth, which is my middle name. So I'm like, oh, the signs. But she's also a survivor, and so oh, God bless her, because I was like texting her like every 5 minutes.
Mm.
Um, for probably a month, I texted her almost every day asking questions. But yeah, it's heart-wrenching, but also at the same time, when you find out that it's maybe, breast cancer and the survival rates are pretty high, right? And once I found out I was stage 1, um, okay, then you kinda have to, you put on this, like, you put on your armor, right? And you plow through it, and, of course, there were days that I didn't get out of bed, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried, and then you get angry and kinda rage, honestly, like, "These cards suck. Why was I?" I thought I was healthy and, I worked out all the time. I was doing triathlons and, why me? I mean, it's human to have these feelings.
I know when Nicole first my friend got her diagnosis, um, it was super overwhelming. Now, I'm just asking to see if this is your experience too, because I think that um, it's not talked about enough. But she came home from meeting her team and she had a stack of information like this big, right? It was just like resources, and you got to do this and take this medication, and you got to have an echo every, couple of weeks, and then here's your treatment plan every 21 days, and then you got to get your blood work done within 48 hours of that, and then this pill this time of day, this one this time, and it was just like, oh my God, it was so much and so overwhelming. Did that happen with you as well?
So I think we had different, because I think we had different cancers. My treatment was a lot more streamlined and very, I could see start to finish of my treatment plan, or at least what is the current treatment plan. With the overwhelm that I felt was trying to get answers that nobody had quite yet, because you can't get an answer until you get that test done. You can't
Mm.
get an answer until you get the results of 2 tests. So I didn't have the stack. I didn't have the instructions per se. I had the overwhelm of, but I want to know what's next. But I couldn't get those answers of what's next until I was living appointment to appointment to appointment. I was living from a my chart email. I mean, I was constantly on the computer or my phone looking for results. And that's the biggest thing. So it wasn't overwhelm. I didn't have the information because we weren't at that point yet. And then once we did have that information of what the oncotype test and, the cancer team came up with my treatment plan, I didn't have to have chemo. I wound up having a double mastectomy. I had a partial hysterectomy, and I have the pill tamoxifen that I have to take for 10 years. So that was my treatment plan. So it was a little, Nicole and I's is a little bit different, but there's not a lot of information out there. And that's one of the reasons I started the TikTok.
Yeah. No. And that tamoxifen, that is a medicine to help for it to not come back, or what is that tamoxifen? Why do you
Because
have to take it
my
for 10
cancer
years?
was a hormone, it was
Mm.
a estrogen and progesterone receptor, positive receptor type of cancer. The ovarian suppression just turned off the ovaries to stop producing the estrogen. I wound up just having my ovaries completely removed. And then the tamoxifen, as best as I can describe it, it is it's almost like a blocker, an estrogen blocker. So if I do have any cancer cells left, it will, I think, go towards the tamoxifen instead of any estrogen that I have in my system from other
Okay.
organs that still produce estrogen.
Right. So are you considered at this point no medical evidence of cancer. Isn't that what they call it? Because you're not technically in remission or cancer free, right?
Right.
You
So
just have no
they've never used
evidence.
those words. They've never said remission. They've never said cancer free. They used what
Right.
you said at first, no evidence of cancer. And that is that is my biggest question. In fact, I just went to the doctor yesterday and um it's what I ask every single time. How are we going to know if I have a reoccurrence? And unfortunately, I don't love the answer that they give me
What
because
is that? What
it's a
is the
symptom.
answer?
It's we wait for
But
symptoms.
you didn't have any symptoms before, so
No.
that's really not very comforting, right?
It's like living in the gray, and I hate it.
So how do you plan on navigating that, living through the gray and, just and as a coach and everything, and I'm trauma informed right away. I'm like, your nervous system is going to be so out of whack. And it's
Mhm,
always going to be looking, 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 looking. So how are you going to navigate that? Because that could really take control of somebody's life.
mhm,
If they didn't mindfully check themselves and be like, and come up with a plan on how to navigate through it. So, if you don't mind sharing, I think when you go through a double mastectomy and have to have your ovaries out and you're taking this medication and some go through chemo, um, that man, you really want that award at the end that you're cancer free and they won't give it to you, right? No evidence of cancer, but take this other medication for 10 years just in case
mhm,
there's something in there. And I think it's so important because you want to celebrate like that whole ring the bell thing. Everybody associates ringing the bell with you're cancer free. All your problems are gone.
mhm.
But no, I mean, that's one. There was a TikTok I watched of yours about medical debt. And I would love to talk about that.
Yeah,
And again, I, just the way you have the life experience, the way you say things. I want to dig into all of that stuff because these are the things of, especially for loved ones to hear, right? So if someone's listening to this podcast and their sister, mother, anyone is going through cancer, we want to help them out because that is such a helpless feeling
mhm.
of,
Yeah,
when my friend was diagnosed, I could just be there, you know, I had no advice. I had no experience with it. I could just be there for her. But I think just bringing awareness to some of this stuff will give people more compassion for people that are going through cancer or when they are they ring the bell doesn't mean they're done.
no.
Yeah. So tell me about that, your experience with that.
Well, I'll answer how I'm gonna navigate. I'm gonna live in la la land and pretend like I don't have cancer because I can get fixated. I am very type A. I have high anxiety anyway. I will self-diagnose every pain, whatever. And because I'm in medical menopause and the tamoxifen, I have headaches, hot flashes, mood swings. The joint pain is out of control. I finally have it a little bit back into control, but I worried about bone cancer, right? So the only thing I can do is stay positive as much as I can and do everything in my power not to get cancer back, right? Or to wake up the sleeper cells or whatever, wherever, if they're there, I don't want to disrupt them staying where they're at right now. But I
Yeah.
quit drinking. I started lifting weights to help with bone density loss that women, especially my age, we lose our density anyway, just naturally. And then when you shut off our estrogen completely, it's like, ugh, we're in frail city. So I'm
Yeah.
doing as much as I can to prevent a reoccurrence physically. Mentally, I'm trying. And I know stress is like probably not good. So I try to just live like I don't have it. I also try to live to my absolute fullest right now because if I were to get it again, I don't want to sit back and say, well, damn, I wish I would
Yeah.
have. I mean,
Mm.
I look at like your friend and look at my type of cancer, and not to downplay my type of cancer versus hers. It's not a winning type scenario, but I also am very, very blessed, and I feel very fortunate. And I don't want to minimize somebody. I don't want to leave anything out there, because
Hmm.
other women didn't have it as easy as I have, right? So it would be a
Yeah.
disservice to anyone else out there if I just said, I'm just going to continue to drink and eat crappy food and, not work out, and just, it'd be it's disrespectful. And I would never, um, I don't, that's not how I live. So that's how I'm managing that. I'm going to live in la la land.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you're even thinking about others that are either going through the same as you or may in the future, that you are setting kind of that bar of, I'm going to take care of myself. Others might not be able to do that, even like in their honor, but you can't say what you went through is easy and or minimize it compared to some other people, because cancer is still cancer.
Mhm.
And it was the worst news for you, right? And navigating it was all new to you. So you still go through that similar journey. They just look different, regardless of what stage you are, or um, what your treatment plan is, because it's different for everybody,
Mhm.
that treatment plan. But
Yeah.
okay, so so yeah, like tell me about, we touched base a little bit about, like that medical debt. Like I wanted to bring that up because I've been hearing about that, more and more, that people don't realize, like you, even with insurance,
Mhm. Mhm.
I know Nicole, like one time, like wrote it down, and it was like every infusion, and I'm just guessing right now, it was like $75,000. Tell me what you think about that and how you navigated through, like what it felt like. I have these bills piling up and you can't work because you're going through treatment, or you're feeling sick, or you don't want to get out of bed. Tell me about that whole part of it.
So I I guess I didn't really start to think about it, how much it was adding up, until you get out of the fog of it, right? Because then
Mm.
because while you're in treatment, or while you're, fresh out of surgeries and stuff like that, it's still very foggy, and you don't and so I missed bills. Honestly, I have a high deductible copay plan. Um and I wound up just not paying stuff, because you're in a
Mhm.
like you're not all there. Let's just say that. And so a lot of my bill, I had a very, very hefty bill go to collections.
Yeah. Like, how would you
Ugh.
not?
Yeah. And not that I meant to, but that's just what happened. And this is the thing that kind of opened my eyes to the whole debt part of it. Was I wound up answering the phone when the debt collector called, and they said, if you are willing to pay this in full today, my the hospital system is willing to cut it in half. And I was like, okay, so if you're willing to cut it in half now, why would you have even charged me that to begin with? And I'm going to use the nicest language possible. It really, really aggravated me. It made me so angry, because at that moment I thought, how dare you? I'm like fighting for my life, right? And then it was, oh my God, what if I didn't have healthcare? What if I didn't have a job? What if I lost my job? What if I, X, Y, and Z? There's women out there who cannot pay their bills. And are they just being shoved off to the side because this is so expensive? But yet these hospital systems are doubling, tripling. How much inflation is going on there that then they're passing on to us who cannot pay their bills? So
Right.
I started really, then it was a defiance thing. So I wound up taking the 50%. And then I purposefully stopped paying my bills and I let them go to collections. Collections for medical debt does not go on your credit. And, or at least that's disclaimer, it has not on mine. And that's what I've been told. Um, and so I just let it go. And then I negotiate with them. And so all the research that I've done has shown do not ever pay the first bill. Call. There are like crisis care or debt care counselors out there that can help you walk through the medical bill process. Um, and especially right now, our insurance and healthcare system is out of whack. And it, I get so heated on this because people are missing care because they can't afford it. So that's what I've been doing. I refuse to pay full price anymore. I after after that first time in collections, I just thought, you know what? No. If you're gonna the second time they didn't offer me 50%, they only offered me 35% off. But still.
But the whole bargaining is like a game, and you're
It
out here fighting for your life, and they're wanting to play a game with you, and
is.
it's like, are you kidding me? So what, you want me to go without food and electricity and water?
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. But I
Mhm.
want to ask you this. So like, if you have um this medical debt accumulating, does that mean that you shouldn't go out and do things for self-care?
You
Because
go
I
and
think that's a
you
big misconception of, like, maybe at some point you were asking for support to help out, but an opportunity comes up to go on a girls' weekend with your friends.
go.
And why, tell me about that. Why do you feel that way? I think it's important because I think a
Um,
lot of people will say, well, I've gotten support, and so I don't feel like I have the right to do that, or I've got these bills that I haven't paid yet. So I feel guilty for doing something for myself. But when you've just fought for your freaking life,
mhm.
to me, cancer's physical, technically, but to me, it's very emotional, and it
Yep.
plays a toll on you mentally, that those things need to be taken care of as well. So you said, yes, absolutely go. Why? Why would you say that?
So I'm gonna I did not start a like GoFundMe or anything like that. My mom was close by. I had family down the road to, help me like with food and stuff like that. Right. But because we don't talk about finances, it's very taboo, right? Like, I'm not going to ask you how much money you make. You're not going to ask me. Nobody's going to talk about how it's very shameful to live in debt. And it's very shameful to have the amount of medical debt that some of us have. It's very taboo. So we don't talk about it. So therefore, we don't ask for help. I think I just did a TikTok the other day on how, you know, I don't care what your status or job or this, that, and the other. It is okay to go set up a GoFundMe. And as a caregiver, a friend, a family, whatever, that could be something that they could do for you. Right. And it is okay to accept that money. And it is okay to go on that girls' trip because even when you have the term survivor, that is not the end of your story. There is, like you said, so much mental that goes into it. There is that fear of reoccurrence. There is this shame of, you know, w- uh, of not being able to take care of your family or this or do the things that you used to do, right? And then you have all this guilt. There's survivor's guilt. There's just all kinds of stuff. And if you don't take care of yourself mentally, I it's It's a disservice to yourself. I think that should be a priority. I think every especially woman who gets through breast cancer is it's mandatory girls
Mandatory.
weekend as soon as they
Yes.
can because that's what they need. That's what we need. And I will say and especially after treatment or after survivor, whatever you want to call it. People are always they are very quick to be there at the beginning. They're quick to bring the flowers, to bring the food, to the text, to the calls. And then when you're okay, those stop. And so
Mhm.
that girls' trip at the end or wherever you want to put it of your treatment is really, really important. Not only like just for the camaraderie of the girlfriend, but as a mental, because it gets really lonely when you're done. And you're
Mm,
because you're not done. You're not technically done,
right,
right? And so
right.
when all that stuff stops, it is a lonely place. So as a friend, as a caregiver, as a supporter, you go take Nicole on that trip, right? Like just make her
Yeah.
go.
So talk to us more about that, because for any survivor, anyone that's maybe on the journey, um, or loved ones, talk to us about that afterwards, because again, something that we don't talk about. We talk about, what it's like to get diagnosed with cancer. We talk about, what chemo looks like. You see it on movies. People get very sick or weak. Yeah, like that's where we learn this information.
Mhm,
But I've learned that the after is like a whole nother journey.
mhm,
And there is a whole lot of grief that comes into this journey, because you lose who you used to be, right? There's that, well, there's that before cancer and after cancer, right? There's that split. There's that, you mentioned it earlier, that survivor's guilt, where people will now come to you and be like, oh, so and so's got cancer. Can you help her out or him? And if someone doesn't survive, you hold that, like you hold on to that. You feel that guilt. So talk to me about all of that, and what your message is to anyone that's listening that's either on the journey or supporting somebody.
um, mm, this that is a heavy question. I will
Hmm.
say that trying to navigate the after is almost as difficult as navigating pre-treatment, the right after the diagnosis. And here's why. You don't get much of a time. There's not much time in between because you are constantly living to the next appointment, the next My Chart app or results or whatever and you miss the innocence. You miss that woman you were before who didn't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. But you don't get that time during from diagnosis to survivorship. You don't get that time to really grieve her until you're quote unquote done, right? Because you're so busy in between trying just to stay alive.
Yeah.
So I'm a year and a half out. Yeah, a year and a half out, and it was probably just a few months ago that I started to be like, "Oh my gosh, like, my life has completely." Obviously, cancer changes your life, but it's a deeper it's a I grieve that innocence. I grieve that woman who didn't have to worry about every single ache and pain. I grieve that woman who now I feel a little bit better about, making plans for the future, but for a while there, I was like, "Am I even gonna be alive to do that?" Right? Who's gonna take care of me? I don't have kids, so, like, you start thinking of all this stuff that you really shouldn't be thinking, and the old you was definitely not gonna think that, right? Because
Yeah. Right.
she didn't
Right.
have a care in the world. I mean, her cares were very, let's say, superficial compared to what they are now. Um, and I will say it's lonely because your friends might still be there. The texts do slow down, you know, the calls, the check-ins, it just slows down. It's nature. We're all human, right? And our friends and family go back to their lives, as they should. But then you're sitting here thinking, I don't it's hard for me to talk to some people because they don't get it, because
Mhm.
they haven't lived through it. And this is why the cancer community has been, I mean, growing that TikTok community and being able to chat with women who are going through, and even some men on there. Um, and that's why I think I resonate with so many people, is because when you go through something like that, you feel isolated because it's not as, I mean, it's common. Yes, breast cancer is common, but it's not like everybody goes through it. So it's really hard to relate with some people because you'll find that people will say, well, you should just be happy you're alive. Right. And well, absolutely. I am the most happy. I'm happier than you are that I'm alive. Right.
You're
But
right.
I
You don't
am more
have to
happy than
remind
you.
me or
No,
tell me that
yeah.
I am
I'm really
grateful to
happy.
be alive, but thanks.
Yeah. But there's a loss too. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's also obviously the physical side of it, but there's an emotional, and it's really hard to describe and explain and feel understood. So I think that's where part of the loneliness comes in too. It's not because of the physical, like texts or stuff, and stuff like that. Although that is a part of it. I think it's more of I don't have the connection that I once did with my friends because I have changed so much. And so it's hard to like it's hard to like resonate some of that with others.
How do you balance being grateful to be alive, but also feeling it's okay to be mad and angry and resentful and all of those things? How do you balance the two?
I don't think there is a balance. One day I'm incredibly grateful, and then there's another day that I am raging. And there are days that I will just sit and stew. I will be ticked off that I was dealt these cards. I will be sad. I will be Yeah, I think the sadness has kind of gone away for me, and I'm turned more to the mad and ragey part.
Yeah, yeah.
It can be the menopause too, right? But, yeah, it pisses me off. Um, uh, so I don't
I
know
think
if
it's balance. I think it's balance if you equally pay attention to both.
right. Yeah.
You know, you can be, pay attention to being grateful, yes, but pay just as much attention to and allowing yourself to be angry and to feel it so you can process it. You can't avoid it and you can't bury it under false gratitude because it will sneak back up on you.
Yeah, toxic positivity, it's at
Mhm.
the end, it is not wrapped up in that pretty pink bow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
I like how you put that. It's balanced if you pay attention to both,
Mhm.
and that's how you balance it, is paying attention to both. You can't
Right.
I tried really hard to not be angry and to be very grateful at first, and I was actually talking to one of my girlfriends who she had cervical cancer, and she, reached out at the beginning and said, "Feel the hard days."
Mhm.
And I started to, and I was like, "Wow, that kinda feels good."
Yeah, you got to, and it makes you feel stronger. Like, yeah, you can get through it, right? Might not be easy and it might not be fun,
Yeah.
but you build something every time. You don't run from it. That you sit and you feel it and you go through it. There was something that in our prior conversation that you had said to me, and I wanted to bring it up because I was like, I don't know, it just hit me, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. But last time we talked, you said cancer saved my life.
Mm.
And I was like, no, you saved your life,
Yeah.
right? Like, because I know what you meant by that, because you made a lot of really mindful, positive changes for yourself. Like you said, you quit drinking, the fitness and all of that. But to me, I said that because I think it's just as important to say, to give yourself the credit for surviving. You can't you can't give God that credit. You just can't. And just like recovering alcoholic, one of their biggest things is, by the grace of God, I'm sober. No, I'm sober because I didn't choose to drink today. And if I can't take that win, it's like, if that drives me crazy. So talk to me about like how cancer did change you so much that you felt like it saved your life and you just needed a little reminder. It was not God, it was you.
I had my little Jamie on my shoulder. And I think
Yes.
about that often now, especially when I go onto some of these TikToks or, y whatever, but you're right. I made the decision
Mhm.
based on the cards that I was dealt, right? Um, but I didn't want to die. That was it.
Mm.
And I was going down a path where I was drinking too much. I obviously ignored signs and symptoms of my own, ailments,
Mhm.
cancer, disease. Um, and had I, alcohol numbs a lot, right? It numbs our emotions, it numbs any or a lot of intuition. I tend to be a very intuitive person, sober. um, but I just feel like I don't want to say that I was gonna like it didn't save my life it saved it in a metaphorical way. I saved myself in a metaphorical way. I just wasn't living to my fullest potential. And the perspective and the clarity of sobriety and after cancer is, and this sounds so cliche, but it's almost like a rebirth, right? It's a fresh start. It is a chance at so much that I would have delayed. Okay, so this is what it is. The alcohol and the numbing allowed me to delay my life. I
Yeah.
would say I'll do
Yeah.
it later. I do that. I've been doing a lot of photo shoots lately. I started my own business called the Phoenix House. I am doing all of these things now because I want to, and I don't think that I would have had I not made these changes.
Um,
That's what
so you got sober during this journey too, which that's another disease, okay, that you are in recovery from or you're on a journey. So you're kind of like double whammy on this in your body, and I'm sure your nervous system, everything was so out of whack. And I'm sure still in survival mode for so many. But even your identity of as a drinker, like for me, I was a different person as a drinker, not always a better person. But
are though at times.
I was funnier. I knew how to dance better, like all of those things. I had a lot more false confidence. Now I have pure confidence in myself. There's a difference, but there are times, but you are losing again who you used to be.
Mhm.
And and when you lose that person, you're not quite to who you're becoming yet. You're just here. And what I explain a lot of times, like with my client, it's like a transition, right? So you're on this island of comfort, your life that used to be, and then you've got this island where you're headed. But during that transition, you're right in the middle with no roads, because you have no idea where to go, what to do, who am I supposed to be, and it's a terrifying. And you want to keep looking back because you're like, oh, I know how to live that life.
Mhm.
It's comfortable. I know how to navigate it. It's easier, but you're never moving forward, right? It takes courage and guts to keep going to that other island. So tell me about that because it happened with you in two different ways, big ways.
3 ways, because I moved to a whole new community.
Yeah.
Um, so I continued to drink until December of last year, of 2024. So I had about 4 4 or 5 months from diagnosis to my reconstruction that I drank, and I drank pretty heavy during that time because I was sad, right? I'm going through cancer.
Scared.
Um, but a couple of days before my reconstruction surgery, I stopped. And I didn't know if I was gonna stop forever, to be honest. I was gonna do a January challenge for, um, like, losing weight, going to the gym, and one of my friends put on a challenge to, like, start lifting and stuff like that, and I was just quite frankly, I was just kind of fed up with I was just sick of myself. I was like, "I need to make some changes," right? And I it was hard. The first year is really hard. I'm finally feeling a little bit more secure where I can be in social situations and not feel like I'm kind of like missing out. But yeah, I mean, it was a double triple whammy where I mean, I ripped a lot of Band-Aids off all at once, but that's kind of me. I kind of do that. I kind of go big. But this time it meant something bigger, right? It meant I actually had to do what was going to say that I was like, I actually had to do what I said I was going to do, right? I
Accountability.
said I was going to live big. I said I wasn't going to ignore this second chance. I was going to live in the decisions and choices that I wanted, how I wanted this second half to go of my life. And I had to honor that because if I kept breaking promises, which I did, I have always done, and drinking kind of helps you do that, right? Helps you break
Mhm.
the promises to yourself. And I had to trust my body again. I had to trust myself mentally again. I had to basically put up or shut up. And so I just decided, you know what? If I'm going to tell somebody else, if I'm going to be an advocate for other people, if I am going to put my story out there on TikTok, which I hated TikTok, by the way, at first, it's so crazy, but I have to like follow through. And I can't be this, I can't say one thing and then do another anymore in my life. Like and because I had cancer and then decided to stop drinking and not knowing, the community here, I, yeah, you got to do some digging. You got to find yourself and you really have to like the person that you're becoming. And so in order to do all of that, you have to not break those promises to yourself. You
Mhm.
have to do what you say that you're going to do. And it's hard. I mean, I have cried and cried and cried and cried. It's
Um,
lonely. I miss my friends. I miss that island. I was literally on an island. I
you're
miss it.
right.
I miss it. You're right. It was easy and familiar and, I miss the connections that I had. I haven't even gone back to see my friends because partly do I have the same are we going to have the same connection? And I'm scared that we're not.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's
So you're definitely in between. You're still in that transition. Um, I mean, you're only a year and a half out,
mhm,
right? Just even from drinking, when you quit drinking, it takes about that long just to get out of the funk,
mhm,
right? And to really um, take responsibility for, the things you did and who you were when you were drinking and the disappointments, not so much to other people, but punishing yourself.
mhm,
I was escaping a lot of trauma, like a lot of abusive relationships where I felt like I was nothing. And when I finally got a little bit of freedom, I'm like, oh, and when I would drink, it made me feel like Superwoman and I could do what I want, regardless of who was hurting. But I always said I became my next abuser.
mhm.
I was trying to run from that, but yet I became that to myself. And so, who do you want to be?
Mm.
What's that other island look like?
Well, there's a little bit of guilt of like you said, the self-abuse kind of mentality. I actually have a couple of thoughts on like, oh my God, did I give myself cancer because I was drinking so much? So there's a little bit of, I mean, there's a lot of correlation between alcohol and cancer, right? Um,
Mhm.
so there's still, and then I have regrets like, did I miss out on being X, Y, and Z because I was partying and having fun? So that's the kind of stuff that I still need to shed. But what's that island look like? Um, it's clear. It's freedom and it's the ability to do exactly what I want and live as big and as loud and as um carefree without judgment, right? Especially judgment from myself, but definitely without the strings of the perceived judgment from other people because that is something that I still sometimes, it's a little cringy to be on TikTok all the time. um, but I'm
Yeah,
getting
but you do it, Abby. And I'm going to encourage people. I'm going to have you give me your handle and stuff because
Yeah.
you don't mind, I'd love for people to follow you. Even, I mean, you have so much evolved. Like, I know you talk about fitness on there, drinking, but not the, oh, I was really drunk, calm down, da da da. It's, you're talking about the fun. You talk about all it stuff that people don't talk about,
Yeah.
right? So you just have so much, so many layers to you
Oh,
that
thank
you're surviving and working through, and you have the guts to talk about it in such an authentic way that I think anyone following you would absolutely get stuff out of it, right? So that island, that you giving yourself permission to take up space is what that sounds like,
you. Yes.
right? Um, how do you do it without that fear of judgment, of being too much for somebody? Or, like your TikToks, you say it's kind of cringy, but it's not, because you're not on there just like, look at me all dressed up for Friday night. Aren't I sexy as fuck? No, you're talking really good. Sorry, I can have a mouth at me sometimes,
Oh, I
but you're
love it.
talking about genuine mental and emotional strategies for people to live the best version of themselves for themselves. That has meaning. So,
Thank you.
no, your TikToks are not cringy, they're meaningful. So
I
take
like
up
the ones
space.
especially after I've been crying like all day and I'm like, "You know what? I bet I'm not the only one crying today, so let's make a TikTok." And then
Yes, yes.
but I will say having that this clear perspective, clear no alcohol perspective cancer has really just allowed me to say, "F it. I'm going for it." And who cares? I have I have stared down the worst days of my life. I don't think it could get any worse. Could
Mhm.
it? I mean, it could, but like I'm ready for that, right? But like
But
the
you're alive to try something different if it doesn't work, right?
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think having this I don't know. It's just it's weightless, right? I don't feel the heaviness of life as much. Things that used to matter to me don't seem to matter as much. Things that I stressed out about, I can't because I stress is not good for, you know, any of us really. Um, and so it's just kind of reframing life and like, man, when you stare down, whatever the situation is, whether it's cancer, adversity, trauma, abuse, whatever it is, when you stare down and you see the end and you're like, oh, no, 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 I refuse.
Yeah.
I,
Mm.
I don't want to live this like fake, toxic, positive life, but also I'm, I'm going to do what I'm going to live. This is all we get in this skin, right? So, I mean, I'm
So
sure.
incredibly powerful, though. That's the thing. And I think so many people, but specifically women, are so afraid to take control of their life. They're so afraid of that. They don't know how to get that power and to say, like, I don't have to do anything but die and pay taxes. But literally, like, I do what I want. I very much have that attitude,
Mhm.
and I only do things that bring me joy, right? I've learned to say no. I have learned, and like, especially after the loss of my daughter,
Mhm.
right? I have learned that other people's opinions are not my business, and I don't give any weight to any of it. And it's like, you know what? You can't hurt me. I have been hurt probably the worst way possible. And so all this stuff doesn't matter. In little failures here and there, reframing them to be like, what did I learn from that? But tell me the tools that you're using, because you just mentioned reframe. You've mentioned, toxic positivity, but yet positivity. So talk to me, or not even me, talk to the Thrive Tribe, and talk to survivors out there that are listening. Um, what are the tools that you use to get you where you're at, sitting on a podcast, taking ownership of your life? being able to comfortably talk about drinking too much, right? A lot of people are too worried to even say that out loud, right? Too much shame that they don't even want to talk about that out loud. So tell us what tools that you've used or what you have found to be a great asset to you to get this new empowerment that you're talking about.
Oh boy, there's a lot. Actual physical tools. I did a lot of journaling. I read a lot. I listened to a lot of podcasts. Um, I the I guess the question that I asked myself is, what is stopping me? What is this? What Okay, X decision, right? Like, what is it costing me not to make this decision? Like, what is that cost? Is that me missing out? Is that me, or is it like I don't really, it's not a high cost, so I can say no to that, right? Um, it's I took control of my body image per se by going to the gym because I now want to respect my body. That's an automatic confidence, right? The Just showing up for yourself. I take a
What
bath,
does that look like?
doing the things that
Taking
I
a
say
bath.
I'm going to do.
Mm,
Even
yeah.
when sometimes it's getting on the podcast is, it gives me butterflies in my belly. But, I don't want to be, if I didn't share my story, that's kind of a disservice to other people, right? We all need to talk about this stuff because we're all going through it. You can fill in the blank, you can say cancer, trauma, or abuse, or divorce, right? You can use all kinds of things, but we're, as humans, the community connection is, I think, such an incredibly powerful one that we just, if we have the courage to talk about it, we're going to see there's not as much judgment as we think. There, people are going to resonate with you. People are going to say, "Oh my gosh, I was thinking the exact same thing," and other things that I've done. I Quitting drinking was a really good, I mean, it was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, to be honest, because then I was able to make all these other decisions clear, and taking care of yourself, taking baths, you know, expanding your horizons, like taking a class, like doing things that you really want to do and just makes you feel good and yummy and wholesome and secure. Um, it makes those decisions a little bit easier because you have that confidence in yourself. You have that trust in yourself. And when you see what it's costing you not to make that decision, whether it's, okay, so for example, what is it costing me not to say no to this job, this make believe job, right? Because I love my job. But what is it costing me? I'm unhappy in my current job. It's costing me my health, it's costing me my stress. I bring it out on my family. If I just quit that job and went to this other one, like, there's a lot, we are so much more powerful than we think, and we just a little oodle of confidence and a little bit of trust in yourself, and sometimes it's just jumping.
Yeah, sometimes just jumping. Don't overthink it. Just do it. It takes a lot of what you're saying is learning to self reflect.
Yeah.
Honestly, right? If you can't look in a mirror and be honest to yourself, then you know what I mean. You can't live an honest life. So you really got to look in the mirror and see all of it and say, some of these things I'm okay. No one's perfect. That that like for me, I might go 2 days and sit on the couch and binge watch Netflix because I'm always, my mind is always working, right? And I work a lot. And so for me to disconnect, I have to be watching something that and kind of just tune out.
Mhm.
And that might look messy or not productive. And I don't care what other people think it looks like. I know that it fills my need of being able to disconnect for
Mhm.
24 to 48 hours.
Mhm.
I think it's reflecting on what it is you need and making damn sure you get it, regardless of what that looks like. Making sure you're going on that getaway, making sure that you are. smiling and laughing, even if you just went through a cancer journey or lost a loved one, or, and all those moments where you're not supposed to look happy, otherwise people think you're just over it. So that, I mean, it's just so many tools that are available to you. But again, you are in charge of your life.
Mhm.
Some of you are just talking about of saying, what is it going to cost me? That's one of the tools I'll use with my clients is, when you make a decision and you have a goal, so to speak, every time you have to make a decision, you need to ask yourself, is it going to get me closer to that, or is it going to get me further away? So you want to get healthy and lose weight. So when you go to pick up that Twix because you're having a sugar craving, instead of saying, "Oh, it'll be fine, I'll do better tomorrow," you need to ask yourself, is this going to get me closer to my goal, or is it going to get me further away? Just those two questions, constantly turning, keep you on the right path. You're always going to slide off a little bit,
Sure.
but it brings you right back to your foundation,
Mhm.
right? So lastly, I wanted to talk to you about, and again, it was something that I picked up on your watching you on TikTok, was things not to say to someone that is going through cancer. And this girl, I mean, I went through it with losing my child. There's so many people would say, and I get it. I get they're trying to be helpful, and I never got mad at them, and I didn't um, get angry or anything like that. But I would want to know, like, if I'm constantly saying, "Oh, Kelly, I totally get what you're going through," and I've never even been diagnosed, like, ooh, that just takes away from you, right? Like, I don't understand. Even if I went, you and Nicole don't understand what each other's went through. You can relate to it,
Right.
but you can have a similar experience, but completely different lenses,
Mhm.
right? So everyone's story is truly unique. But a lot of people will say, I know Nicole went there, people saying things to her, it was so hurtful.
Mhm.
And it's not that we're trying to fix anybody's way of communication, but for those of you out there that would like alternative ways to show support, because it is very awkward to be in the position when someone says, yes, I was just diagnosed with cancer. Like, what do you say to them? Like, instantly makes people uncomfortable. So what are, like, I want to know some of the things that you've learned to say. Please don't say that to us, but what can they say? Right? So let's figure out what they can say. But tell me a couple of those that came up for you.
Yeah, so, funny because I didn't even really think about any of this until you go through it, right? I would always say, "What can I do? What can I do? What can I do?" And as the patient, I'll say, we there's nothing I'm gonna tell you that you can do. So just show up, right? And you don't have to say anything. Just show up. Sit with me, go to the appointment with me, drop off food, send me a text. And the how are yous are lovely, right? But I don't have enough energy to explain the roller coaster that I'm going through. So I'm just gonna probably say fine or tired or I've had a shitty day. Um, so those kind of questions, the open-ended, like the whole long drawn out, like how are yous are kind of hard. But you know, do you want I'm coming over to watch a movie and then put on a happy, funny movie, right? Bring over um take me for a walk and take my mind off of it. You talk about, how you like to Netflix. I like to go on walks. Take me for coffee. It's it's not how are you, it's how are you feeling? What made you or like there's one gal on TikTok right now who just went through her surgery and her margins weren't clear. And I actually started to say, how are you feeling? Or something like that. And it was, how does that make you feel? Right? Like
Mhm.
angry. I just want one word. Um, and then just let people talk, and just listen. And, you know, don't say just be grateful to be alive or The one that bothered me was, "At least you're getting a new boob job,"
Oh
because
my
I don't like
gosh.
the way that I look right now. I liked my old one.
Mm.
Um, my aunt had it and she died. Please don't tell me any, like, sad stories, especially right at diagnosis, right? Um, I'm here for you. Hold my hand. Like, just I had people show
What
up.
about when you have 100 people coming at you saying, "You're so strong"?
Oh, no, I'm not.
What does that do? Tell me
Ugh,
about that. What does that do?
it pissed me off, to be honest.
Mhm. Why?
Because
I mean, tell
you
us.
have
I
no
think
other
that's so
choice.
honest.
You have no other choice but to be strong to survive.
Mhm,
Yes, I know
mhm.
I'm strong. I don't want to be strong. I For the first time in my life, and I don't know what I don't know if it was cancer or just getting a little bit older or going through menopause and I'm actually really very tired. I don't want to be strong anymore. I am sick and tired of being strong. And so allowing people to come in and help was a relief that I did not expect. Come over and clean my house, make me dinner, do my
Yeah.
laundry. Um,
What's hard is a lot of people, like you, you're very independent and stuff. And if someone is going through a journey like yours and has a hard time asking for help, that puts them in a very difficult position because they don't even know how to ask for help or they feel guilty asking for help. So that's like one thing I did like for like Nicole is I didn't I just kind of I somehow stepped into the role of, everybody reach out to me. I was getting questions of what's her favorite color?
mhm,
Does she have any food allergies? But and if I didn't know the answer, at least it was just me asking her
right.
instead of all of the questions coming at Nicole. And she's just like, I had some people, that poor woman, she has to cut wood for her heat in the winter, right? And it was right at winter time. And people were willing to go over there and split cords of wood. So it was all stacked and ready for her. Um, she's like, it was hard for her to accept any of that. And so they were calling me. I'm like, just show up and go do it. I don't give a shit what she says. Because they're like, she's saying she doesn't need it. I'm like, do it anyway.
Right.
So that's something support people can do is just kind of take charge and know that, um, what can I do? Chances are you didn't have any idea what people could do. You've never
Totally.
gone through this.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know what I
You
needed.
right.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that they can say is yes, how can I support you right now? Or you know, what way can I support you best?
Mhm.
What other things can they say that is more helpful than hurtful?
You know, just being there, just saying, "I'm here to listen." How
Mhm.
does that make you feel? Are you, you know, whatever emotion, and then 9 times out of 10, we're gonna vent. We're gonna get it out.
Mhm.
Um, even just saying, "I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here by your side."
Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful.
That's more valid. When you tell somebody I don't understand what you're going through is so much more validating than saying I know exactly what you're going through.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is so much more validating. It's like I think allowing people to fall apart is one of the biggest, most beautiful gifts you can give people is giving them that space to be messy,
Mhm.
not to fix things, not to be like, but you're so strong, you can do this. Be like, no, girl, have a complete freaking meltdown. Yeah, you need snacks? I'll bring you some snacks. Just have a meltdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just leaving it open for them to vent or cry or be happy that day. And
Hmm.
sometimes I will say just taking our minds off of it for a little bit because it does become all consuming with the fear and the appointments and this, that, and the other. And, just checking out a little bit is also good. Asking, hey, are you ready to go check out? Let's go to a movie where there's no distractions where you have to like be watching the movie. Or um, some of my friends
Not
sent
not showing
comfortable
up and acting like they're dying, right? Like I know all of a sudden you become this fragile piece of
fragile.
glass and people are tipping toeing around you and stuff like that. With Nicole, I really just tried to treat her like I would any other day. Like You're not dying, girl. Like, you know what I mean? So let's laugh about this, or let's talk about this, and bring uh, bring some of that normalcy back as much as you can at a time there is no normalcy,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's another thing, is stop acting like they're dying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, help them realize that right now they've got a heartbeat. So let's focus on that and what we can do today, you
Yep.
know? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you're saying your friends, I'm about your friends, I'm sorry, I
Oh,
had
no, 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 no.
interrupted.
They, some of them sent like comfy things, like a comfy pillow or, just things I would never expect or ask for, a candle, or I've had a couple people reach out and just say, "Hey, so and so was diagnosed. What can I do for them? What can I send them? I'm far away or whatever." And it's making people feel normal, not fragile, but then also giving the space to have the breakdown. Let them have the breakdown because, like you said, crying and raging in front of somebody shows a huge sign of trust. And in an era that there is not a lot of trust because your body is breaking down, having that support and that trust, it means a lot. So,
Hmm. Such powerful stuff. I mean, we've gone through a lot. And there was one other one I wanted to touch base on, but um, the other thing that, I mean, you quickly mentioned it, but something else that you've gone through um, after your diagnosis was medical menopause. And I don't think a lot of people realize that this medication that you're having to take threw you into menopause. So not only are you going through all this treatment and surgeries, right? You had a double mastectomy, so then that brings body image issues and all kinds of stuff. And on top of that, then you're thrown into night sweats and brain fog.
mhm,
I'm sure that was part of it. Like that is you're just talking, over you diagnosed in what 2024 was it? So over the last 2 years, your recovery from alcohol, you're diagnosed with breast cancer, you've gone through medically induced menopause, right? I mean, you lost your community because you had to make a major, major move. And on top of that, you work a full time job
mhm,
and you're trying to take care. I mean, that is so much. And I mean, it's absolutely incredible that I know you don't have a choice, that you get through this, but you're not just getting through it, Kelly. You are taking your experience and you're sharing it with the world. And you're taking your lessons that you've had to learn the hard way and you're sharing it in hopes to bring other people hope or inspiration or better ways to show up to support, better ways to communicate. You're teaching the world that you're changing the narrative around it. And that just takes a truly confident but unselfish person to do that, because what you had to learn the hard way, some won't have to because of you.
you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
huge.
part of it was out of defiance. It aggravates me to no end that our society and our culture puts women of a certain age in this category, and I said, "F that, I am not going to be that." So that's when I started my, you know, weightlifting and bodybuilding transition, and I also damn the man. I'm gonna talk about it. And so a lot of it did come from this place of defiance at first, and
I
I
love it though. That's what's so sassy about you. And everyone knows, like, my Jeep's name is Sasshole. So, like, I love the defiance and the sassiness
I
and the,
mean, but we deserve
power.
to know. Women,
Yeah.
especially women, society puts so much pressure on us to be perfect, to be this, to be that. And then, oh my God, menopause comes, and medical menopause is that sudden, right? It's that cliff that I talk about. It is not gentle. It is not fun. Do not recommend it to anyone. But you gotta go through it. And so society, we have all of these pressures. And then at menopause, we gain the weight, we get cranky, we're tired, the fog, all this stuff. And I just thought, no, like either we're going to talk about it as a community, I'm going to put it out there because damn the man.
Yeah. Well,
So,
one thing about talking about it that people don't realize is when you talk about these things, you take its power away.
yeah.
And when you are diagnosed with cancer, um, it feels like all your power has been taken from you. Like this shit just happened. You didn't ask for it. Now you have to live with it. You have to adjust your life around it. All the things as you feel very powerless. In one way, to start getting your power back, and one of the number one ways to heal is to start talking about it authentically, though, not what people want to hear.
No.
And as ugly and messy as your experience might be, and this is to anyone listening, somebody needs to hear it.
Mhm.
And when you're able to talk about your messy parts of your journey too, um, it it gobbles up the shame and guilt that you carry because it was messy. It takes that shame and guilt and it takes the power away from it. So please, like I genuinely am so appreciative of you um coming on here today and talking with me and being so brave. You're a safe space, and I just learned this new phrase that I want to start spreading out there is, you hear safe space a lot, giving someone, the ability to just be who they are and without judgment, but also a brave space and giving someone the space to speak up when they're afraid to, giving them the platform or the sitting in the living room and not feeling judged, and we can say anything, like letting them be brave. So one thing that there is that drives it pisses me off, like you get worked up about certain things, is when people minimize people's trauma, or say they're talking about it to get attention. And there's definitely two ways of that. Some may very well, but what I've seen, um, talking is one of the best gifts that they can give themselves, but they're also giving a gift to other people because ones with open minds are learning from it. And you are a gift, Kelly. And I would love for you, even me and Nicole, to sometimes just jump on a chat, just to have a girl night in
Yeah.
chat. It would be fun because I see that you guys go through a lot of similar stuff, and I want to personally thank you because, like I said, I'm on this journey with Nicole, and there's things that you've taught me that have helped me help my friend,
Good.
and that to me is priceless. And I hope that this podcast is doing that for somebody else out there, is giving them the answers that they were looking for, or the motivation that maybe they needed, or something. So again, any last message that you would like to get out to any survivor that might be listening, or anyone that may have just gotten diagnosed?
Oh, man. Um, I will say that, uh, gosh, it is beautiful on the other side. And as horrific as any cancer diagnosis is, um, you and without sounding too toxic positivity like we talked about, but be brave, right? And you will get through it, and life is beautiful on the other side. And the take the time to go through all of the feelings and rage against the man.
Yes, rage, cry. I love it. I love it. And just take control when you're ready. Like, know that as out of control as you may feel, there's going to be a time where you can say, like you did, like, I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start showing up for myself. And and all that is a decision. You
Mhm.
just have to one day wake up and say, I'm taking my life back, damn it.
Yeah.
And the
And
second you do that, you will.
I think it's authorship, right? That's what I sometimes use this, like, you get to now write the next chapter. And
Yes.
that is an incredibly amazing opportunity that not everyone gets or will take. So
Yeah.
I'm
So
taking it.
do it for them too, right? Just like you're doing this for others as well. Well, again, thank you so much. I
Thanks.
want to thank you, my Thrive Tribe. Um, I I hope that you walk away with a lot of really good golden nuggets from Kelly. Make sure you are following her on her TikTok, right? Her TikTok and her Instagram. She's got daily motivation, real honest, raw, manageable things to do. So check her out, and make sure you subscribe, like this channel so you can be here for our next great episode. Everyone have a great night. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.